Welcome to episode 1 of the Jack and Jamie Show, powered by CBG. I'm Jack Herron, co-founder and director of recruiting for CBG Scouting. Here with my main man, Jamie Shaw of ABC Scouting, Rivals, CBG, a man of many faces. Jamie, how you doing, man?
Man, Jack, I'm great. I can't tell you how excited I am about this. I have been on you, I swear to God, for 6 months to get us on a podcast together. Finally, you came around to it. There's nobody out there I'd rather be on one with. I respect what you do. The people that I work with respect what you do with the coaches and everything too. And the CBG thing is going to be unbelievable this upcoming year and beyond. So very excited about this.
Yeah, we have been talking about doing this for a very long time.
It's been kind of one-sided though.
A little bit. Everybody knows it takes me a while to get involved in things and go full force with it. But I think that me and you on a podcast, man, it's just a match made in heaven.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Like I said, I've known you for a long time, and we've been friends for a long time, and we talk every week and all that stuff. So it's gonna be fun. So bear with us, guys. Again, this is the first time that we're doing this too. So go ahead, as you subscribe to this podcast, understand we're in this for the long haul. So stick with us, bear with us. We want to hear your comments below as to what you think about it, and grow with us.
Absolutely, as we say at CBG, grow the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's the perfect time to start this podcast. It's what we like to call commitment season, and everybody seems to be picking their schools after the summer. It was a great summer. We finally got back to AAU basketball. Coaches got to see kids, and it seems like kids in our area are just flying off the shelves right now. Committing all over the place, and it seems like the Blue Bloods are really putting their foot down and getting it done so far this year. So let's start with that. I mean, in your backyard, Duke just landed another great commit in Derrick Lively. By far, they have to have the number 1 recruiting class in the country right now. We got to see Derrick live at the Southern Jam Fest earlier this year. You got to see him at EYBL. He joins a already very talented class. What is it, 3 5-stars they've got now?
Yeah, so Filipowski and Whitehead, they're all in the top 10. And then Jaden Shute back in the 80s.
Yeah, so just tell me a little bit about what you think of this class. I mean, Lively is a guy that me and you are very high on. You help with the national rankings with Rivals. I've told you before, I would have probably put Derrick Lively number 1. I think Jaden Sharp is a great player, but I think Lively is just such a intriguing prospect, and he fits the mold of the new style big man so well.
Yes. Yeah. So, kind of taking a step back a little bit of this as well. This year is a very, very interesting year because you have 2 things in play here. You have the first year of the NIL stuff, and you also have year 1 of the overtime league. So when it all started, you wondered as to how the overtime league would affect college basketball. And they've done a good job. They've gone out and gotten some really good players and stuff, but it seems the 5-stars, the top 10 guys are still wanting to go to college. And you have to think that a lot of that does have to do with NIL. You have like this year, Paolo Banchero signed with Duke. He's already signed a video game contract, being the first one able to do that. You have, Kentucky, I'm sure, is able to put together incredible packages for these kids to make money off of their name, image, and likeness. Duke the same way. They are the biggest brands in college basketball. And I think allowing the NIL stuff to happen is showing that these Blue Bloods are able to kind of package together deals for these kids to where they're able to get their name, image, and likeness out there and keep them in the college game and grow the college game in that way as well. But for the Blue Bloods, Duke, as we started with, Derrick Lively, we have him number 3 right now in the Rivals 150. As I was saying all this stuff about Lively, I think Lively is a prospect whose best basketball will be played in the pros. I think right now he's still figuring out how to play basketball, figuring out his 7'1" body with incredible agility. When I first saw him, Jack, I might have been standing beside you when we were watching him at the Southern Jam Fest. When I first saw him this summer, for the first time this summer, not ever, but I likened him to like a Willie Cauley-Stein, just in the way he moved. 7-footers don't move like Derrick Lively moves, as you said. He's got the lateral movement, the switchability. He's got the vertical pop that he has. He can switch on screens. He can act as a rim protector, and he can do all that type of stuff. His thing is going to be consistency. He is not a ready-made product right now. And there's a huge ceiling to go, but there's also a floor as to where being able to string half and half together, game to game together, game by game by game by game. And that's going to take time to go. So yes, while he may be the highest level prospect in this class, and we took that into account because we were the first ones to move him, from I think he was in the 50s, and then we moved him up to 5-star status, top 12 after a Southern Jam Fest performance. Undeniable the amount of talent that he has, the dexterity he has, the fluidity he has, just the natural gifts that he has. He will be in the pros. You can see that. And in a 2022 class where there are a lot of people, you can't necessarily say that they're going to be pros. He is one that you can say without any questions, he's going to be a pro. It's just a matter of how good he gets as he becomes a pro. So with that said, Derrick Lively, number 3, huge get for Duke. But I think that he's one of those guys whose expectations shouldn't be huge on him for his college season. He might not even average 10 points per game. But his best basketball will be at the professional level, where he has all-star type potential to get there once he gets there.
I think one of the things to take into account with Derrick, when I've talked to other people about him, guys in the Philadelphia area, he's from Westtown in Philadelphia, played on that final team at Southern that had Jalen Duren and Amani Bates. And, when I talk with people from that area about him, they speak very highly of, one, his character, and 2, his work ethic. So apparently, I hadn't seen him live until this year. But apparently the jump that he's taken over the last 2 years has been astronomical.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would say while you're giving the cautionary tale to Duke fans, I would say you don't know, because with another year and with him in a college style where they're going to push him in ways he's never been pushed, come mid-season in 2022, 2023, he could be just like Mark Williams was, where it's like, oh my God, where was it before? But now he's down the stretch, one of the best players in the ACC. You throw in the fact that they have a guy like Kyle Filipowski, who has fit the Duke system and the style of play for very, very well. You throw in a guy like Derrick Whitehead, who is one of the best two-way players in the country. And then Jaden Schutt, who shoots the basketball extremely well, which is something that Duke is going to need and has struggled without the last year or so. I think that it's the right amount of potential with guys like Lively and guys who can come in and make an immediate impact from day one.
Without question. And Filipowski, I think, is the perfect complement for Derrick Lively. A lot of people are talking, why would he go to Duke, Filipowski, all that stuff. I think Filipowski and he are the perfect, because Filipowski, for me, he's 6'11", 235 pounds. He's going to continue to grow and stuff. He's got a toughness to him. What his best attribute on the floor is, for me, is his passing. A lot of times the New York Rens team and the EYBL, they put him on the ball and let him initiate offense. He was able to get past the first line of defense, put his feet in the paint, and actually make a read and a play, whether it be finishing at the basket or kicking it out to his teammate. I think you're going to see a lot of kind of stuff. So their games aren't necessarily similar, but I think Paolo Banchero this season, another one of his incredible attributes is his passing at 6'10". I think that you'll see them maybe being able to do a lot of that type of stuff with Filipowski as well. Not saying that Filipowski is near as good as Banchero. Banchero is probably the number 1 pick in the NBA draft next year, all that type of stuff. But both of them are 6'10", 6'11" guys who can really pass the basketball. I think a lot of stuff that you see them do with Paolo this year, maybe with initiation and stuff, could be stuff that you see Filipowski do next year as well. And they can play a great inside-out game, because Lively can shoot the 3. Filipowski can initiate offense. They can also both play inside. Lively, not necessarily with his back to the basket, but more so as a rim runner and putting his heels on the baseline, playing in the dunker spot as well. And then Derrick Whitehead you have as well. This, 6'6". He's young. He's one of the youngest players in the class, but he's physically developed. My question mark with him, obviously, is the jump shot, but also is he's a little stiff in the hips. I'm not sure how much wiggle he has when he gets downhill straight line. But he's a play creator. He's kind of a combo forward, wing, 3-4 type of guy with his strength, athleticism, and pop. You would think he'd be able to defend all over the floor and do all that kind of stuff as well. But with his youth that he has, this is a great class that complements each other. All three of them top 10. Filipowski, we have number 5. I think we're higher on him than most. Whitehead, we have at number 9. And Jaden Shute, he entered the rankings this year at number 82. Unbelievable summer this year with the Illinois Wolves. He's more than just a shooter as well. As you say, obviously, Jaden Shute, and he's going to be primarily thought of and needed to shoot the ball because, again, as you said, they have really struggled putting the ball in the basket these last couple of years. But he can attack a closeout. He can get above the rim and dunk. And actually at the NBA Top 100 camp, he was playing on the ball, initiating in the half court some. Now, he's not going to be that at the next level, but his ability to see the floor as an off guard will certainly help with what Duke's able to do. And also, Duke may not be done. J.J. Starling and Mark Mitchell are coming up, and they're both trending toward Duke as well. So, you add those two to the mix. Starling, I believe, is top 50 right now, and Mark Mitchell is top 15. You add those two in the mix with Lively, Filipowski, and Whitehead and Shute, and John Shire getting it done in his first year.
Yeah, so that everybody thought, are they going to be able to recruit the way that they were without Coach K? I think that the Duke brand speaks for itself, and having a guy like Shire that has been under Coach K and was a great player at Duke himself. It's not gonna change at all. We talked about Lively committing there. The other school that was really in contention for him was Kentucky. And, they miss out on Lively, and that's the type of guy we made the Willie Cauley-Stein, comparison, and he probably would have fit Cal really, really well. But thank you, Dave. Cal came back with his own and recently got a commitment from Chris Livingston, who just transferred to Oak Hill Academy, top 10 recruit himself from Akron, Ohio. He joins Sky Clark and Shaden Sharp, who you have as the number 1 player in the country. That's 3 5-stars for Kentucky as well. What do you think of their class, and what does the recent commit from Livingston kind of give Cal?
Well, I think the interesting part about Livingston is that he shows that Cal is going to make a commitment to playing kind of a small ball type of system moving forward. Livingston, small ball 4-man, play 4 guards out. He'll tell him that he's going to be playing 4 guards out on the perimeter and all that type of stuff. Livingston will probably come in as a small ball 4-man. Big, strong, tough guy. He does all the tough guy stuff. He rebounds, he defends, straight line drives, gets above the rim. He has a nastiness, a grittiness to his game as well. Almost in a bully fashion as well when he's playing on the floor. I think he's going to be a great transition into a small ball type of system that he has. But what Cal does have, he's got Shaden Sharp. Shaden Sharp is the number 1 player in the class. For me personally, it was not a question as to who it was. I think Shaden Sharp has the most definite NBA style game to him right now. 45-inch vertical leap reported. He shot 44%, I believe, from 3 in the EYBL this year. He's got a scorer's mentality. He's always had the ability to get downhill, get above the rim, and finish. This past year, the footwork, the bounce has really come together. The jump shot, the ability to create off the bounce has really come together for him, adding to the 6'5", 6'6" frame with the 45-inch reported vertical leap as well. And then you just have a well-rounded shooting guard. In a game where shooting is so important, having Sharp coming in 44% from 3 over a 2-week span on the EYBL against what is reported the best players in the country. That's such value, especially when he's playing on a UPlay team where he is the clear number 1 guy, where him going for 29 points keeps them in the game because nobody else might go for 10 or 11. With all the defenses focused on him being able to create space, create opportunity, spray it from 30 feet and in. It was just a very impressive 2 weeks for him and made him the clear number 1 as a defined piece for what he is moving forward. And then Sky Clark got injured in May, right after actually we were calling the games that he was playing at the CP3 event. He got injured, I believe, that next week, possibly. We'll see how he comes back. You never know with knees because it's more mental than it is physical with that. But he's one of the top point guards in the class. I believe at the time of his injury, we might have had him number 1 or 2 point guard in his class. He's now probably dropped about 5 or so point guard, but there's a lot of stuff there with Sky Clark as well. Kentucky's well on its way. Kentucky has a great class. They're still in the mix for a Dim Bona. The 6'10". He's very much similar to Oscar Schwebe, who's there now. Cal, in a year where this year he's getting lauded for transitioning to the transfer portal off of the recruits. He's back on the recruiting trail, and Kyle's getting 5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had the pleasure of watching Shaden Sharp live. I've seen him on tape, but I'm not big time enough to get into Peach Jam like you were this year. But Cal getting the number 1 player in the country is something that we have come to almost expect. It's either going to be him or Duke usually getting them. I think that the getting Livingston as that second piece. Livingston is somebody that I got to watch quite a bit. And him going to Oak Hill, I'm going to watch more. It's not like they're built the same, but his game sort of reminds me a little bit of like a Keldon Johnson, who had a good run at Kentucky, a high motor, brutal, strong, in your face type of hybrid forward, and he's athletic and he's strong and he's going to play hard and be productive. And, with him being, a second or third option, that's really lethal for the Wildcats. And, Sky Clark was an early commit to them before he got hurt, but, he's the type of point guard that really thrives with other talented pieces.
Yeah.
So, I think it's a great start for Cal. I think that he's probably going to get 1 or 2 more. And the transfer portal, I mean, I think that Kentucky is the perfect place for the transfer portal, because if you go somewhere, it doesn't work out, you come back here and Cal's going to get you the pros one way or another.
Yeah, no doubt. The interesting thing with them is Kentucky typically gets their guys late. Like they're way late into, the February, the later signing period and stuff when they get their recruits. To have 3 5-stars at this point in time right now for the early signing period, it's a little bit of a shift for Cal. But it's good to go ahead and close these guys up, get them done now. And I have to think that with these Blue Bloods, the NIL stuff is so super important with their recruiting pitch, as well as keeping college basketball strong.
Yeah, and so with the other Blue Blood that has made a splash recently, especially in my area, UNC, Hubert Davis getting a great first class for him after making a huge splash on the transfer portal this past year, but getting Tyler Nickel, who a little bit of a shock, I think, to a lot of people before he went on that visit. I think everybody was leaning toward him probably going to Virginia Tech, goes on the visit. Apparently, from sources I had, before he left the visit, he told the Tar Heels he was heading to UNC, out of East Rock, Elkton, Virginia, kind of middle of nowhere. But, you've seen him a lot. I've seen him a lot. Joins an already talented class. They don't quite have the 5 stars, but they've got depth. They've got a lot of pieces that should work together well. Tell me what you think about Nickel heading to UNC.
I think it'll be interesting to see how he fits. I think the fit at UNC is going to be interesting. That was one of the things going to Virginia Tech that made so much sense because I think that he fits so perfectly with how Mike Young plays and the vision as to what they're doing. Looking at Nickel toward UNC, obviously this is Hubert Davis's first year, so we don't know exactly how he's going to play and the archetype of player that he's going to be put in what position. But traditionally UNC's had 2 bigs. I fashion Tyler Nickel as a 4-man. I think he's going to have to be a skilled 4-man at the next level. So I'm just going to be curious to see how he fits into UNC, because in years past, obviously that was with Roy, but in years past, he wasn't necessarily the best fit for how they played. So moving forward, bringing him in, very skilled, as competitive as the players you're ever going to find. So I have no doubt that he's going to find a way to make it work. I'm just curious as to what it looks like with Tyler Nickel at UNC. But to your point too, I also heard my sources said that he went on campus and just cooked in the workouts and one-on-one stuff. So, I mean, if your best player is what he is, you find a way to fit stuff around him and make it work.
Yeah. And, I think talking with a lot of people who have been around Hubert for a while, I've known him. I don't know if Hubert remembers me, but I've known Hubert for a while, since Kenny Williams and Armando and all them that I've been close with play there. But talking with a couple of the national people about it, they say that Hubert is really stressing shooting.
Yeah.
They want to go away from that too big, screen, block to block screening action and things like that. They want to spread the floor more and shoot more. And Tyler Nickel is that type of player. I mean, he can play, you can go 2 bigs and play him at the 3. You may give up a little bit defensively there, but He's going to spray it. He's going to be a confident scorer on the wing. What you said, I completely agree with. I mean, I looked at him as a 4-year starter, 4-year starter at Virginia Tech, all ACC type guy playing in Mike Young's system. But it's not the same when you go on campus and you have a great visit and you play well against UNC's current players. You know, it's the lights are bright there in Chapel Hill. And you know, Tyler says he's confident. He says the coaches are confident in him, that he's going to be able to come in and compete for a spot, because they're going to need shooting, and that's what Tyler does. I mean, he's great on the move, great footwork. He can attack closeouts, strong attacking the rim, and can play through contact. And you know, he doesn't back down. And so, you know, that's, even if it's not something that's immediate, you just have to feel like, knowing a kid like Tyler Nickel, like you said, he's gonna find a way to make that work. And he joins Jaylen Washington. Who else do we have? They've got 4 recruits, right?
Seth Trimble and Will Shaver.
Yes. So what? That's a 5-star. You guys have Jaylen Washington as a 5-star or 4-star?
No, Jaylen Washington is number 50.
Ah, gotcha. So that's
he took a drop. We had him 27 after he had a lackluster summer. Dropped him to number 50 because we couldn't drop him any further. You know, big, strong guy, long arms, looks the part. Didn't produce. I think he averaged maybe 6.5 points on the EYBL. You know, this summer, 6.5 points, 3 rebounds, all that. So having watched him 5 or 6 times this summer, I still probably can't tell you exactly what he does well on the floor with Jaylen Washington. Nickel too. So back to kind of what we were saying about Nickel, my question marks, my curiosity with Nickel, he did not shoot the ball well this summer. So I wonder how well he's going to shoot the ball, be able to shoot the ball off the catch. That's going to be a big thing for me. We know he can do it off the bounce, 2 dribbles, pull up, get it, and then his wiggle. He has kind of a stiff dribble, and maybe, I don't want to say a lack of counters, but if you cut him off going one way, he has a tendency possibly to just keep going straight into you and bully you downhill to the basket. So how his development comes in the catch and shoot threes, and then his counter dribbles, his moves, his wiggle off the bounce, I think will go a long way with him.
Well, I'll say this, what I've noticed, because I mean, I've seen Tyler Nickel play probably more than any scout in the country. And
100%.
And I've nitpicked him time and time again. I think that one thing that Nickel does, I think he's a rhythm shooter. So when you watch him coming off of screens, coming off of pin downs, getting up in transition to kick ahead, and he's able to sidestep into it, that I think is better than him on just straight drive, kickouts, step in threes. And when you move up levels, you're doing more of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's set plays that are going to be run for him to come down off of a pin down or come through an Iverson cut, step into something and knock it down, versus just straight drive and kick like the AAU game really is, more than anything. So, you know, I think that that's something that it might even benefit him more moving forward, because they're going to play to his strengths more than just kind of a free flow. All right, Tyler, you can either take him off the bounce, or we're going to drive and kick to Tyler and make it happen. Like, it's going to be stuff that's run specifically for him to get in rhythm and knock it down.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, can he tighten up the efficiency, you know, at East Rock, and even with team loaded, he was able to get 15, 16 shots in a game, maybe even upwards of 20 to 30 to get 40. You know, what will he do with eight shots?
Yeah.
And that Seth Trimble, he was a high rising. He was like 105 or so two rankings ago for us at Rivals, and we bumped him up. He's in 32 right now. He had an off and on, up and down EYBL session playing with Phenom U. You know, he's just a solid point guard. I don't think you get much dynamic stuff out of him. I don't think he's going to ever go for 20 points or go for 10 assists. But he'll get you into your stuff, and he'll be able to run some stuff, score a couple points, and do all that stuff. Just a solid player. Will Shaver, big 6'10" guy who can shoot. You know, he likes to play 28 feet and in. He can do stuff back to the basket. Doesn't really particularly seem to like to, or at least playing with his Pro 1 team. He didn't do a lot of that. Got footwork, got size, got touch. But he really likes playing facing up toward the basket and stuff. And I think that's going to be a big question mark for me with this UNC team, even this year, moving into next year, with looking at the guys they're recruiting. Is obviously they're going after skill. You see, bringing Brady Manick in, bringing Dawson Garcia and all that type of stuff. My question mark is, one, on the defensive end, and two, how tough are these kids? Dawson Garcia this past year, 11, 6'11", he averaged half a block, half a steal, and like 6 rebounds per game. With that, he's going to, those type of things you're just going to have to produce a little bit more of. Brady Manning, the same thing, just doesn't really like going close to the basket stuff, prefers to be facing up. Will Shaver, kind of along the same thing here. With that, Jaylen Washington likes to be facing up as well too. And it appears too, Will Shaver, Jaylen Washington, Tyler Nickel, kind of all three the same 4-man type positions, just different archetypes. So I'm just really, really excited to watch Hubert Davis play, because I have questions, and I think that more games that go in will have more understanding as to what they look like.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be a change in Chapel Hill, but it's Hubert's been the man behind the scenes for so long. It's going to be interesting to see with both Duke and UNC going through coaching changes in the next couple of years to see what happens. But on the recruiting trail, it looks like they're doing great. Let's talk a little bit about some other recruitment stuff, particularly local stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Down here in Virginia, Richmond went crazy with Alfonso Billups announcing that he's going to stay at VCU, chose him over Pitt, NC State, Oklahoma State, quite a few others. I've seen Fats, he's right in my backyard, played in all my CBG stuff, have seen him grow. And, it's funny that like the wave of excitement over Fats, like when you first saw him, it was like all the way up here. And then, you kind of leveled out and you're like, we need more. And then as soon as you say that, he gives you more. And then so, I think that I want to get your opinion on this. I think it's a great get for VCU. It's the first local guy that they've gotten in the past like 4 or 5 years. And I mean, when you talk with some of the guys on their staff and around the program, they think that he has barely scratched the surface as to how good he can be. So let me get your opinion on that one.
Well, Fats is he's a Rivals 150 guy for a reason. I think he hit the nail on the head. I think when people first saw him, ninth grade, he was about 6'6", and he had guard skills. He could shoot the ball, handle the ball, do all that stuff. Built a big reputation. Then as you saw him early on, sophomore year, maybe that summer, he always left you wanting more. COVID hit and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden seeing him back at the CBG stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, this light's turning on. He was aggressively getting downhill. He was taking good shots and making shots from three, initiating offense, getting people into the passing lanes. He was rebounding, just doing all the stuff that you want a star to do. We rewarded him for that by putting him into the Rivals 150 where he belongs. And VCU did a great job locking him up. NC State should be recruiting Alfonso Billups. Pittsburgh should be recruiting Alfonso Billups. The ACC schools, that level of school, should be recruiting Alfonso Billups. And for VCU to keep him local, keep him home, I wrote an article earlier today about a kid committing later today. You're supposed to, put a fence around your city and keep the best players from your city, provided they're good enough to play for you. Great job for VCU in doing that. Play style, I think his length is really what Mike Rhodes wants to do. His athleticism, his versatility, on both ends of the floor, I think is really in line with what Mike's trying to build their identity to be able to do, both skilled, but also long, and just be able to get out and press and cover a lot of ground and get in the passing lanes and trap and run and do all that type of stuff too. So I think he just checks every box of being a home run get for that staff.
Yeah. And it was a lot of talk about, he said that they said a lot about what they did for Bones, and that Bones was right around the same thing. He was a top 100 guy, but not many people thought in 2 years at VCU he'd be in the NBA. I'm not saying that that's what it's going to be for Fats, but as far as
you're not saying it's not.
Yeah, well, I'm not. But as far as what you look with Bones, it's like, he always had those physical traits at 6'4", 6'5" as a lethal shooting combo guard. I mean, Fats, when you've got him at 6'7", the one thing that I say is that he is so much better when he's playing with other talented players. Mm-hmm. And if it's in an unselfish environment, like sometimes when you watch him with Verina at our stuff, he's clearly the best player on that team. And you wanted him to be more aggressive at times, go look to score the basketball more. It's not really his game though. Like Fats is a playmaking 6'6", 6'7" guy that can make great passes with both hands, reads the floor, can see over the defense. And he's an unselfish kid. But at the same time, it's almost like it's just natural. Like I think that he's never really been taught or like studied the game very much, to the point where like he still has so much room to get better despite being so naturally gifted. So, I think that with a little bit of time at VCU, you're looking at a guy that could be an all A10 kid and possibly have his name called one day to play in the association.
Yeah, and kudos to them too, because VCU also got another Rivals 150 guy, Christian Furman, from Pennsylvania, big, strong.
PSA
Cardinals, played with PSA Cardinals. Yeah, so good class for Rhodes and crew.
Yep. So we'll stick in Virginia here. Another recent commit, Donald Hand Jr. heading to Boston College. He was part of that backcourt of Team Loaded with Jade Epps, who's heading to Illinois. So off the board from Team Loaded right now is Jade Epps to Illinois, Donald Hand to BC, Tyler Nickel to UNC, and Alfonso Billups to VCU. Not to mention another guy we'll talk about here in a little bit. But tell me what you think. Yeah, I know you're a big fan of Donald Hand, and I think it's a great fit at BC. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, I think so too. Hand, he checks a lot of the boxes. He's got great length. He's got ball skills. He can shoot it, and he's young, so he's still growing. Just like Earl Grant at Boston College, they're young. They're growing into what they have. The timelines of it kind of fit in the fact that you're bringing in Donald Hand. He's not going to be a year one guy. He's not going to come in year one like the ACC on fire. Maybe year 3 he could do that though. But I think you're bringing in somebody. He's a top one. He's a Rivals 150 guy just outside of the top 100. The upside is clear, and what he has. This past year, he has developed the mentality. I think in his COVID shortened season, he averaged like 32 a game for his high school team. So the light is turning on, the switch is turning on of the ruggedness, the toughness, the alpha nature of his game is the light's turning on with it. He's still young at 17 years old. The skill set's there. He's going to get to college, put on weight, get in the weight program, get the nutrition program, do all that stuff. It's not going to be an immediate thing, but I think in the long term, a 3-year guy, 4-year guy in the ACC, I think he's going to have more years of success than he is of learning.
Yeah, and I think that it's a new staff there, but I think that BC has had a lot of success with guys like him that maybe don't fit one of the guard positions, but can play both, and they're good.
Jerome Robinson is the first name that pops in mind.
Exactly. Kyan Bowman, Tyrese Rice, guys like that who aren't points, aren't twos, but they're go-getters. And DJ Hand is that. He can fill it up. He can make plays for others. Just a ball player at the guard position. Who else you got, man? Who's been making splashes? You seem to be writing your takes on commitments on Rivals almost every day as I read them. Who you got down in North Carolina, man?
Well, I wanted to go through a couple more of these Virginia guys. I mean, this is still the region and all that type of stuff, but there's a couple guys who really, really showed out during the CBG stuff that we did this past year. One of them, the main one, I mean, he was a huge benefactor from CBG, but Devon Caesar. I remember my first time that we came in maybe, November of 2020. I think it was your second session that you had. Y'all had one previously, but the second session we came in, we called the game. Devon Caesar was there playing with his a group that was majority St. Stephen's, St. Agnes, to keep with the rules correct. But we were floored by him. He was unbelievable. He came in. I think he had one Division I offer maybe at that time, maybe Merrimack might have been his only one, and he was just jaw dropping with his athleticism. And still to this day, the 6'1" guard might be the fastest person I've seen with the ball in his hands on a basketball floor. And he came back to every single one of the CBG events. He was somebody that I got excited whenever the Smithfield St. Agnes group got onto the floor. He was somebody I was excited to watch because you were going to see something that you do not see every single day, every single time he steps on the floor, whether it be a chase down block, whether it be him getting up to the top of the dang on square and blocking a shot. whether it be him grabbing a rebound, beating every single person down the floor and finishing with a two-handed dunk, whether it be him coming down the paint off of a closeout and dunking on a big man, whatever the case may be, he has a sheer excitement level about him with his game. Going to Buffalo, he's going to need development when it comes to the IQ side of the stuff. You know, he relies so heavily on his athleticism. You know, the game's going to have to slow down a little bit for him. The reads, the footwork, the angles, you know, just the intricacies of being a high-level basketball player. But rightfully so, high major ACC schools were messing with him during the June timeframe and looking at him. He's got that type of pop. He would walk onto a high major campus right now and be the fastest, most athletic guy on the campus. But the sheer excitement, but it was also really cool to see the development of it too, because as I said, he first came to that CBG thing, maybe with a Merrimack offer. And he came to every one of them since then. He ended up with like 22 offers overall, ended up going to Buffalo. And I can't wait to see what his college career pans out.
Yeah, Devon was, I remember when I'd seen him on tape before, you know, with New World as a junior, going into his junior year, and was like, okay, this kid looks like he's got something to him. The first time I saw him in person, I think he caught an outlet and ran right by us while like we were at the scorer's table, and we kind of looked at each other and was like, yo, that what? Like it was like 2 steps. And I mean, he can absolutely fly. You know, it's one of those things we call a lot of people one-man fast breaks. Devon Caesar can literally take an inbound off of a made basket and just push it. And if you don't get back and get set, he can get a dunk. You know, and it's that type of athleticism that, I mean, you can call me crazy for saying it, but that's the type of guy that is in that boat of, and I'm not comparing him to him, but like the way that John Morant was if he went to Murray State.
I thought you were going to say John Wall, but yeah, John Morant, yeah.
You know, but John Morant went to Murray State, and the one thing, you know, and you saw more than I did, but it's similar in the fact that they are just more athletic and faster than anybody else. They have game-changing speed. So in a few years, you never know what he could end up being. If he polishes up and is able to change speeds a little bit, become a more consistent shooter, cut down on the turnovers, you're looking at a guy that can just do things on the basketball court others can't. And we say all the great stuff he does offensively, and you mentioned his blocks. I mean, he is an all-out guy the entire time he's on the floor, whether it's in the press, shooting passing lanes, getting under guys and guarding 94 feet. He gambles a little bit too much, but at the same time, he's able to make plays. So there's not a play he doesn't think he can make with his speed. So It's going to kind of be recognizing when to go for that with his speed and when to kind of play it safe and just learn how to play at multiple speeds and things like that. But I mean, yeah, you know, I remember him talking to me when I was down in Atlanta during April, and he's like, hey man, like, you know, I appreciate you, but like, where are the schools at? Like, you know, I balled in your events. Where are the schools at? I was like, Devon, just be patient, man. Just be patient. It's coming. June hit. Everybody saw that speed in person. And the next thing you know, it's everybody up to Virginia Tech and all the other A10s and mid-majors all wanted him. Buffalo gets a steal, man.
I think you hit the nail on the head a couple times with that and the thing is you don't get a grasp as to how really fast and athletic he is until you're courtside and you see it up close. And it's a very wow type of realization as to this, like, okay, he looks good on video and all that stuff, but until you're sitting courtside and see it, you don't get a full grasp as to what it is. Funny story, you mentioned Ja Morant. I know we're going a little long here, but the crazy thing about Ja, he didn't get that athleticism until he got to college. His senior year in high school, he was off the bounce, just just getting to every one of his spots, picking people apart with toughness. He was about 6'2" at the time, but he wasn't putting his eyeballs at the rim like he is now. And the speed and stuff didn't come till I guess his freshman year at Murray State. But yeah, Ja's thing was always, and I've been watching him since he was 8th, 9th grade. Always could manipulate that basketball like nobody I've seen. Now he's just got a 15-inch vertical and 6'3" and fast. All the stuff came together for him. But yeah, another guard out of your area that every CBG event that we went to, that was one of the most exciting players that I watched, was Kenyon Giles going to Radford. I know Shane Nichols told me that was their main target in June.
rightfully so, 5'9". The kid can get any shot on the floor he wants. The kid thinks he can make any shot on the floor that he wants, and most of the time he does.
Huge get for my alma mater. They wanted him from day one. They went after him hard. He was on that team, loaded team, came off the bench, with all the talent that they had, and all the shot makers they had, he would get overshadowed at times. But, you've been there with me and watched him play. I mean, it's not crazy to say that he gives you Chris Clemens vibes. I'm not saying that he is. I'm not saying he's going to go score 3,000 points in high school or in college. But he has that dynamic ability to change space or change speeds, change direction, create space, and shoot the ball from anywhere on the floor. And he's got some moxie to him. He's a pesky on-ball defender, great fundamentals. He's going to have a very, very good career in the Big South, where small guards are, that can score it, really thrive.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Darius does with him. That's a great get for them. And I think he could be another one of those guys that you look up in 2 years and he's averaging 21 a game. If things break right, not saying that's definitely going to happen, but if things break right, and he continues to improve and the system goes together and stuff, I mean, that's a very real chance because he's got that type of stuff to him.
One more recent CBG commit that I want to give a shout out to, DJ Campbell, committing from Kecoughtan High School, committing to Western Carolina. When you look at somebody who is overlooked, I think that there's nobody in the state of Virginia that was overlooked more than him, even by me early in his career. And then last year when he came, they played in all the winter events at CBG with their season getting canceled. I mean, you talk about a winner, a floor general, a guy who was in control all the time. And, he may not pass the looks test. You look at him, you don't think he's athletic. And then he goes and gets a putback, ends up with 19, 7, and 4 steals and a win. So I think it's a great piece for the new Western Carolina staff to build around an under the radar guy that is going to set the tone from day one, do things the right way. And
shout out B Graves getting it done over there.
Absolutely. The Virginia guy.
So I got to ask you, Jack, so huge storyline nationally, even coming out of Virginia and stuff, CBG guy and everything too. I want to get your take. I won't say too much on it too, but one of the biggest July risers, Justin Fernandez, CBG guy, all that type of stuff too. He ends up at George Mason. Huge get for Kim English, huge get for all that. Talk about that a little bit. You've known him since way back before he blew up and all that type of stuff too. Talk about what Justin is as a player and talk about how big of a get that is for George Mason.
I mean, it's absolutely huge for Mason. Kim English in his first year, he did a good job keeping a good amount of those kids at Mason when we thought it was going to be a mass exodus. And Justin Fernandez was absolutely blowing up. He was the hottest kid in the country. After his time at UA, it all started in Southern. The clips went out of Justin Fernandez and his unreal athleticism. He's a 6'5", wing guard, can play on the ball, play off the ball, but in transition, he's absolutely dynamic. And it's great to see one of those situations where Mason had been in their first. Mason put their eggs in this basket and the kid committed despite, him heading to IMG, him picking up offers from Florida and NC State and Clemson and all these ACC, SEC, Big Ten schools start coming in, and he had a relationship and felt like the best place for him to be able to go and have early success was at George Mason.
Yeah.
And so good for them getting it done. I know Dwayne Simpkins, my guy, was involved in that heavily. And I think, he's a guy that if it's not from day one, it's going to be very soon when he gets to Mason that he's gonna make an impact. And if that's starting what it is, if they're able to, with Devin Dinkins, him, and a couple others, they're starting to get guys that are on par with the VCUs, the Daytons, things like that. So absolutely great get for Mason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm excited to see what Kim's a great guy. I've known him since, for a while now. And, excited to see that happen. Now let's see if we can turn the program around, because there is a reason as to why the old regime got fired. So we'll see. We'll see what that roster looks like, and we'll see how he's able to build going forward. But man, way to win the offseason.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about one kid in particular in your area. I think I saw on Twitter today Chauncey Wiggins committed to Clemson. So I was watching Team Curry with them and had a talk with your guy Rob about him, and he was like, how good is he? Some people like him, some people hate him. I thought he has so much potential moving forward. To play like an Amir Sims type guy at Clemson, with his ability at 6'9" to handle and shoot the basketball.
Yeah. So the thing about Chauncey is he's every bit of 6'9". He's got great length, and he really shoots it. And those three things that he has, obviously, has it gone public yet already that he's committed to Clemson? He's been locked in for Clemson.
It will be by the time this is posted.
Okay. Yeah. And his, I guess his high school teammate, Ian Shefflin, committed to Clemson last year, obviously with Team Curry as well, followed suit. The question mark with Chauncey is going to be, can he develop the other parts of his game? Can he defend? Will he rebound? Will he put it on the floor with any success? And how tough will he be? Because obviously with Brad Brownell, he preaches toughness and defense and all that type of stuff. That'll be the interesting factor as to will Chauncey be able to adapt those parts of his game. The jump shots is pure looking of a jump shot, as you'll find, and it's just a beautiful thing coming out of his hand and stuff. He can shoot it off movement. He can shoot it on, pick and pop and all that stuff too. But developing the other aspects of his game will be how quickly he's able to get on the floor and if he's able to actually stay on the floor once he gets on there.
Yeah, and then we've got Patrick Wessler out of your area, just committed to Virginia Tech. We're going to
2022 class. There's not a lot of bigs, and that's a nationwide thing. That's not just this region. Patrick Wessler's 7 foot, 7'1", 200 and probably 30 pounds or so. He's going to. It's going to be a process with him. Not going to be a year one guy, possibly even redshirt early. But Mike Young had success with this type of guy at Wofford, the Matthew Pegrams of the world and all that stuff. The guy, the kind of the really big guy who's got hands. At Virginia Tech, Keve Aluma last year, a little more mobile, laterally, a little more vertical pop, a little more touch on the jump shot, being able to stretch it out a little bit more. Wessler doesn't necessarily check those boxes, but there's going to be a time in the tournament play where you're going to play against an Iowa or Wisconsin, where they have a big 7 foot, 260 pound guy in the paint that's just giving you problems. And having one of those guys yourself to be able to put on in a Patrick Wessler as he continues to grow and develop and stuff. The expectations probably are pretty low from him coming in, and anything that he's able to give, even if it's, a redshirt year and, 12 minutes off the bench, there's going to be opportunities where he's going to be needed, especially if Mike Young keeps this trajectory going, up like he is right now of the program. They're going to get in the tournament and play against somebody out of conference where they're going to need just a big guy to lay on somebody to guard Luka Garza, or a big guy to be able to guard a Hunter Dickinson, or, give minutes at least against that. And there'll be games where, he might not be able to play on the court because of the athleticism on the other side. And there'll be games where he's going to be able to have to play 30 minutes. But having that option and stuff on the floor for you will be interesting, especially 2, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road with him.
So let's switch over real quick. Let's talk about, regionally, some of the 22s that you're involved way more in the recruitment forecast and what do you guys call it? Crystal balls and everything. Tell me about a couple of guys that you think are going to commit here soon and what we're looking at.
Well, we're recording right now on Friday midday. A couple guys that should pop today. Elijah Saunders, number 145 in 2022, supposed to go to San Diego State, chose them over the likes of Miami, South Carolina, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. I believe he canceled his South Carolina, Virginia Tech visits. 6'8" out of Sunny Slope in Arizona. Yeah, he's supposed to go to San Diego State later today. Also, Caleb Glenn, 2023 prospect out of Louisville, supposed to commit to Louisville, be their first commitment in the 2023 class. They're still in there with Rodney Rice fighting hand in hand with Virginia Tech to get Rodney. So, but they went ahead and jumped on board. I think he's number 61 right now for us in the Rivals 150. Caleb Glenn. Looking forward to the future. You got Casey Wallace locked into Kentucky. Just came back off his Tennessee visit this past week, number 10 overall in 2022, looking like Kentucky. Christ Ndoko, number 150, and our Rivals 150, Winston-Salem Christian. He's committing on October 1st, looking like Providence for him. And then Brandon Miller, he was supposed to commit later in September, but pushed it back a little bit. All signs point toward Bama for him. I think the longer he prolongs it, possibly we'll see what happens with pro leagues and all that type of stuff too. But if he goes to college, it's looking like Bama. On the Brandon Miller front, number 12 right now in the 2022.
So you mentioned a name, earlier, Rodney Rice. It seems like it's been Louisville and Virginia Tech for the past 2-3 months since June, essentially. Where do you have him forecasted?
Right now, I'd put it 60-40 leaning toward Louisville. I think the longer that he gets away from his Louisville visit, I think Virginia Tech could come in, obviously, with his high school coach being on the Virginia Tech staff. There's the trust factor there. There's the previous relationship there. And I think also, too, style of play, he looks, like a Virginia Tech guard. Right now, though, were he to commit, I think Louisville kind of holds the cards. I think both staffs kind of feel that way as well. But the longer it gets away from the visit, I feel the more Virginia Tech could be staying in.
And so tell me, who would you say are the best available 22s right now in, the Mid-Atlantic region that, still are up in the air?
I guess so. 4 of the top 5 guys in North Carolina in 2022 are still available. I guess 4 of the top 5 of the top 6, really. When you go the number 1 player overall, Ezra Asar, Liberty Heights High School, 6'8", 235, 4-man. His recruitment really hasn't taken off yet. It's soon to take off, however. So I think UMass might be his highest level offer right now, but he's going to have SEC, Big 12, ACC schools coming into his gym every single day watching, and he is a very, very bad man on the basketball floor. You would love him watching him play. Jack, number 2 guy, LJ Thomas. We saw him go for 36 or so against IMG last year
on 20 shots.
Yeah, he's still available. He's still available right now, so he's looking at the likes of NC State, Georgia Tech, Georgia schools looking at him. Boston College was involved with him as well. I think he almost committed to them earlier, but some stuff fell through. So LJ Thomas is still involved. Number 3, Christ Ndoko. We just said currently as we record this, he is available. However, he will soon be taken off the board, I believe. Number 4, Jaden Epps, obviously going to Illinois. Number 5, Ryan Prather, Liberty Heights, 6'4" shooting guard. A high major school. Went to go watch him the other day, walked out of the gym and said, I'm bringing my head coach back next week. We're going to offer next week. The kid plays just like Seth Curry 2.0. That was out of his mouth, not out of my mouth. So that's just what, those type of schools are thinking about Ryan Prather. He's a Maryland kid. I'm sure you have familiarity with him from before, but unbelievably gorgeous jump shot.
Yep.
Gets to a spot, efficient. He can get downhill off of a closeout. Really, really good team defender as well. I think that, he came in, I think, with the Jacksonville State, maybe USC Upstate offer. Just this past week, Wichita State, Rhode Island offered. He's going to be one of those guys that the more coaches that see him, just like Ezra Asar, the more coaches that see him, the more he's going to do. But he's the number 5 player in North Carolina 22 class. Number 6, Deontay Green. We all know him. I think he's possibly going to end up at NC State. We'll see. CP3 this summer, 6'8". So those are, I guess, 5 of the top 6 currently are still available. I would say that probably Deontay Green, Christ Ndoko are pretty far down the road with wherever they're going to end up going, and the other 3 are still.
So, Jamie, as we start to wrap things up, man, I know you're doing some big stuff down there in North Carolina with your ABC Fall League, man. You mentioned Ryan Prather, and then tell me about some of the guys who have kind of made a name for themselves at your Fall League.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess looking at it, Ryan Prather's been one. We mentioned him already. Ezra Sarr's been one. We mentioned him already. Somebody who's really, really stood out every single time they played, Chase Lowe. He's a 6'5" guard out of Weddington High School. He led his team to an undefeated state championship last year at Weddington. They got pretty much everybody back. He's a very unique player. The question mark about him is his jump shot. And that is a question mark. But he does everything else on the floor well. He's the point guard for this team. Unbelievable passer. He can defend multiple positions. 6'5", 200 pounds, long arms, switchable, athletic, tough, rebounds. You can have him at the next level, guard 1 through 4. You can also have him play offensively 1 through 4, and you can initiate offense. He'd be a great guy that maybe even to have beside like a Kenyon Giles. Maybe you can throw a rock in our region and hit a 5'9" guy that can score 20. But having somebody like a Chase Lowe beside him, could open things up for it, and stuff with some unique abilities to do. Chase Lowe's been unbelievable. He makes winning plays, and I think that's the best compliment I can give him is what he does about his game. Also looking at their Q Lemon, he is a teammate of at Liberty Heights, 6'6" wing. He's always been athletic, long-armed athletic guy that gets out and runs well. He's shooting the cover off the ball right now. So the catch and shoot stuff, 6 foot, at 6'6" with the ability to get up and down the floor. It'll be interesting to see. I think he's got Eastern Kentucky, maybe one other offer right now. It'll be interesting to see if the higher level mids to highs even come in. He will strike the interest of the high level. I think he's an appropriate mid-major guy, and there's a lot of mid-major schools within this region. So it'll be interesting to see how those doors open up for him. Noah Van Bibber has been one of the biggest breakouts of the whole thing. Concord Academy, 6'4" shooting guard. He is the cousin of Hunter and Kay Tyson. He's athletic. The other day in warmups, he went behind the back, dunked it in the air. Pretty spectacular stuff. But he's also about a 45% 3-point shooter. He played the other day. I think for the event so far, 4 games, he's shooting like 62% from 3. The other day he was 7 of 9 against Liberty Heights. Got to his spots, was not impeded at all in getting what he wanted off the bounce, shooting the ball and everything. Marcus Farley at Liberty at Lincoln Charter out in Denver, Lincolnton, North Carolina. 6 foot, just explosive guard. You got Marcus Morgan, the younger brother of Matt Morgan, who's the Ivy League second all-time leading scorer. Graduated the same year that Chris Clemens did, 2,000 whatever points at Cornell. His younger brother Marcus, he's a 2022 prospect, 6'2" kind of combo guard. He's got 7 or 8 right now, D2, D3 offers. Binghamton came to watch him the other day. There's a little bit of interest there coming from some other D1s as well. Look for him to possibly be committing soon, but he's the type of guy that fills in a lot of gaps, can do a lot of things on the floor as well. So there's some of the guys, younger guys looking at Javante Ware with LaMelo Ball's Team 1 of 1 Academy. 6'9", 2025 prospect. He's got unbelievable hands. He's got unbelievable touch. He can put it on the floor. He can shoot the 3 ball, do all that type of stuff as well. So there's a ton of talent there. We've had 10 plus coaches at every single one that we've had so far. We have another one coming up this Sunday. It's at Cox Mill High School, Concord, North Carolina. If you're in town, come to watch it. If you're not in town, check out the CBG group. The live streams of it, we'll have court 1s and 2 running at all times, where there's 12 total teams. Well, there's 12 varsity teams, and there is 5 or 6 JV teams that are playing in it as well. Also this Sunday, showcase games of the Burlington School, top 150 Mike Nwoku, 6'9", 2023 prospect, Kanai Briggs. Coming up here pretty soon. We'll have Kobe George, Zion Walker playing on that team as well too. So make sure that you check that out. Concord, North Carolina. It's about 2 hours from everywhere in the state, and then the CBG group if you're not.
Yeah, no, that's
and Jack. Coming off of that, y'all had a badass event this past weekend. I wish it was not on the same day as my thing, but I watched it vicariously. The coaches clinic was unbelievable. There was teaching. There was development, there was knowledge, there's everything involved with it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what went on with that and where they can find some archive stuff with it?
Yeah, so it's also on the CBG Live network. We had 12 speakers, 2 Division I head coaches, an associate head coach, 2 Division III head coaches, and then 6 or 7 Division I assistant coaches. And when you talk about like the knowledge that they instilled in these coaches, I mean, the amount of people that have been asking us to do another one already, we plan on trying to make this an annual or maybe even a twice a year type thing. I have to thank all the coaches. We had coaches come down from Boston, come from Oklahoma, from North Carolina, Maryland. We had coaches come from all over. It's one of those things where me and you are both basketball guys, and we see the game a little bit differently than coaches do. But for a long time, I wanted to be a coach, and I realized that I could never, because the way that they think the game and how smart all of these guys are and the passion that they put into learning in this game, it baffles me. Like it's one of those things where I'm sitting there and I'm listening and I'm learning and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm hearing so many just great things. And I got to thank all the guys for coming out. We had guys talk about things ranging from culture building to player development to ball screen action, pressing, transition. It was great. And shout out my man Troy Mans at LC Bird. He also spoke, state championship high school coach. Thank you for letting us have it at LC Bird. But yeah, check it out if you're a coach and you want to learn, man. The CBGLiveNetwork.com. You can do a little bit of everything. You can watch and learn from the coaches clinic. You can watch Jamie's fall league and find some new names and just help, as we say, grow the game around here.
And the great thing about coaches clinics too, and this one the same, is anybody can watch it. You could be a college coach, you could be an assistant coach, you could be high school, you could even be a player, and you will take a ton away from the game. In watching these clinics and stuff, and sure, it can get whatever it is, but unbelievable amount of knowledge, skill, talent, and all that stuff being shared there. And it's an unbelievable thing that I hope, I've been talking to Chris about it as well, I hope that we can really, really grow that into a series of coaches clinics and kind of move around a little bit with it and do some big things coming.
Yeah, man, it's going to be something that we're going to look into doing more and more of. It's as much as we like to help kids get exposure, I think there's also a learning aspect to the game and development. And, there's a lot of people that are smarter than us in this game. So I want to get around those guys as much as I can.
Absolutely. And I know too, you talk about growing the game. Y'all have a fall league coming up as well, or fall dates and stuff too. What dates are those that people can look for and sign up for them with?
So we have our fall series that we did last year. We're bringing it back. It's going to be Sundays during October, October 3rd, 10th, and October 24th in Richmond. And then we're part of the Virginia Beach Sports Complex Feast Jam Jamboree on Halloween weekend. So four dates. We've got a good amount of teams locked in. We're going to have elite teams. We've got tons of public and private schools that are ready to, get after it and get ready for the season. I can't wait, man. It was our big event that kicked everything off last year. And
some of the names from last year too, Jack, for these people that are listening, might not have heard of it. Devon Caesar, Buffalo, Tyler Nickel, UNC, Justin Fernandez, George Mason, Fats Billups, VCU. The list goes on of players. Kenyon Giles ended up at Radford and stuff. The list goes on of players whose story started in this fall league up there at the CBG group too. So make sure you really take that seriously and look into it if you're able to make it.
Thank you, man. Such kind words from you, Jamie. Nobody else I'd rather say that to me. Well, this has been episode 1, Jamie. I appreciate you, man. And we're going to continue to grow this, and hope you guys tune in, subscribe below, and stay tuned for more episodes here on the Jack and Jamie Show.
Guys, thank y'all.